If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to like and subscribe. May the old gods and the new smile on you. Good gaming.
The Lannisters, led by the High Sparrow, versus the Martells, led by Prince Oberyn.
Martells win the terrain roll. The scenario is, here we stand. The Martells open with a heart tree. The Lannisters counter with a corpse pile. Both sides repeat their choices, heart tree and corpse pile. The Lannisters win the deployment roll and elect to choose first player. The Martells stay on their side of the battlefield and force the Lannisters to deploy first. Meryn Trant and the Guardsmen deploy front and center. Obyrn and the Royal Guard line up across from them, but to the rear. The High Sparrow and the Gold Cloaks take the far flank. The Sand Skirmishers with a high Hermitage Sentinel take the opposite flank. Adamar Brand and the Red Cloaks line up behind the Guardsmen. The Martells use their first outflank. Gregor and the Knights position behind the Gold Cloaks. The Martells use their second outflank. With deployment complete, both players draw 3 cards.
Round 1. Let the battle begin.
The Lannisters choose to be first player and open with Joffrey claiming the tactics zone. His influence goes on to the Skirmishers along with a panic token, and they draw 2 cards. Nymeria Sand takes the maneuver zone. Her ability removes the panic token from the Skirmishers, who then pivot and maneuver towards the far flank. A Lannister Pays His Debts is played on the Knights of Casterly Rock. Tywin Lannister takes the crown and targets the Skirmishers, but Intercept Orders is played. The roll is successful, so the Royal Guard become the new target. They just pass the panic test on a 5. Nymeria Sand claims the wealth zone to no effect, and her influence goes on to the Royal Guard. Cersei Lannister then takes the swords also to no effect. Obyrn and the Royal Guard maneuvers back and towards the Skirmishers. Meryn Trant and the Lannister Guardsmen maneuver forwards. The Skirmishers maneuver further towards the far flank, leaving the Martells out of activations. Adamar Brand and the Red Cloaks march straight, just missing contact with the Guardsman unit. The High Sparrow and the Gold Cloaks then march forward and pivot towards center. Finally, the Knights and the Mountain that rides do a cautious 5-inch maneuver forward. End of round 1.
Round 2. Who will charge first?
Round 2 opens with Nymeria Sand using her ability, the Strangler, to mark the tactics zone with poison for the Lannister NCUs. Nymeria Sand then claims the crown, and her influence goes on to the Royal Guard. The Gold Cloaks then take the panic test. They pass it. Joffrey claims the maneuver zone. His influence goes on to the Skirmishers. The Guardsmen are targeted and maneuver forward 4 inches. Tywin claims the swords but has no target for the zone. Tywin then goes into the same quadrant as the Royal Guard. Ellaria claims the tactics zone and puts a panic token onto the Gold Cloaks, and with her ability, a weaken token onto the Guardsmen. She then draws 2 cards. The Red Cloaks activate and maneuver forwards and into the next quadrant. The Royal Guard activates and move toward the corpse pile. Cersei claims the wealth zone and removes the weaken token from the Guardsmen. The Skirmishers activate and Subjugation of Power is played on them, forcing a panic test with a -3 to the result. They fail it and take 4 wounds, thanks to Joffrey's influence. They then maneuver closer to the table's edge. The Guardsmen maneuver forwards into the next quadrant. The Knights move up to cover their rear. Unexpected exhaustion is played on them. They gain a vulnerable token, and the card attaches to the unit. Finally, the round ends with the Gold Cloaks marching forwards and then pivoting around to face the table's edge. End of round 2.
Round 3. Let's see some fighting!
At the start of round 3, the Martells trigger both of their outflanked units. The archers come in first, towards the rear of the knights. Darkstar's retinue then comes on in front of the Gold Cloaks. The Lannisters open the round by activating the knights. Viper's infamy is played on them. The Lannisters use their first counterplot and successfully cancel the cards' effects. Attempting to negate one of the new threats quickly, the knights maneuver towards and then declare a charge on the archers. When they declare the charge, superior positioning is played, but they fail the charge anyways. They then take and pass a panic test for failing the charge. Dayne claims the wealth zone, and combined with her ability, heals 4 wounds back to the Skirmishers. The guardsmen activate and rising temperatures is played on them. They then declare a charge on the Royal Guard. It is successful. They throw 6 dice, and after a re-roll, 3 hit. The Royal Guard block 2 and then use Shield Wall to block the remaining hit, and they auto-pass the panic test. Nymeria takes the swords and her influence goes on to the Royal Guard. The archers then fire into the Gold Cloaks with 7 dice. True Conviction gives a re-roll, and all 7 hit. The Gold Cloaks only block 1 hit and take 6 wounds. They pass their panic test and the panic token is spent. They still pass. Joffrey then claims the maneuver zone and his influence goes on to Darkstar's retinue. The Red Cloaks then pivot around and maneuver towards the archers. Ellaria then claims the tactics zone. She puts a weaken token onto the Red Cloaks and a panic token onto the Gold Cloaks. She then draws 2 cards. Tywin then goes into the only unoccupied quadrant. The Spearmen Captain uses Threaten to put a weaken onto the Gold Cloaks, and then Darkstar's retinue activates and declares a charge on the Gold Cloaks. It is successful. Laws of the Realm is triggered to reduce their dice to 6. After a re-roll, 5 hit. The Gold Cloaks block 2 and the vulnerable token is spent. They still block 1 but play Protection of the Father. They pass their morale test but the panic token is spent, and on the re-roll they fail, only blocking 1 additional hit and taking 3 wounds. They then pass their panic test and activate playing Mercy of the Mother. They make another morale test and pass it, healing 4 wounds. They then attack Darkstar's retinue with 5 dice. 3 hit, and the weaken token is spent. After the re-roll, they land no hits. The Royal Guard activates and attacks the Guardsmen. Oberyn's martial training order triggers and puts a vulnerable token on them. Before throwing 7 dice after a re-roll, they land 5 hits and 1 precision wound. The Guardsmen block 4 and the vulnerable token is spent, but they block them all. They then pass their panic test and trigger their Lannister supremacy order. The Royal Guard is now forced to take a panic test at -3 to the result. They roll an 8, just passing the test. Cersei then claims the crown. She spends her first token and pulls a Hear Me Roar from the deck. She then targets Darkstar's retinue, but because they control the swords, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken is played to auto-pass the panic test and attach itself to the Gold Cloaks. The Skirmishers then activate and maneuver towards the Guardsmen. They then trigger their Quick Fire order and shift 2 more inches before shooting into their flank. They land 5 hits. The Guardsmen block 3 and take 2 wounds. They then pass their panic test. The Royal Guard takes a panic test from being shot into but just pass it. The Red Cloaks activate and trigger their Lannister Justice ability on the archers. Hear Me Roar is played, and they take a panic test at -4. They fail and take 3 wounds. The Red Cloaks then march towards the archers. The archers activate and fire into the Gold Cloaks. After a re-roll, they land all 7 hits. The Gold Cloaks block 5 hits, and they also max fail their panic test for a total of 5 wounds. Darkstar's retinue passes their panic test. After a measurement to be sure of long range, Adam Marbrand then triggers Sentinel for a charge onto the archers. Lannister Justice is triggered again. The archers fail again, this time for 2 wounds. The Red Cloaks' charge is successful and they throw 7 dice. After a re-roll, 6 hit. The archers block 1 and take 5 wounds. They then fail their panic test and are killed. The Lannisters score a victory point. The Red Cloaks surge forth. Both the Martells and the Lannisters score 2 victory points for controlling 2 quadrants. End of round 3.
Round 4. Keep pressing the fight.
Round 4 opens with a Lannister pays his debts being played on the Red Cloaks. Nymeria activates and claims the swords. Intrigue and subterfuge is played to cancel her influence. She then targets Darkstar's retinue for an attack on the Gold Cloaks. They land 6 hits with critical blow. The Gold Cloaks cannot block enough and are killed. The Martells score a victory point. They then trigger their overrun order and attempt to charge the Knights. Needing a 3, they fall short and then take and pass a panic test. The Knights activate and successfully countercharge them. They become panicked. They throw 9 dice and after a re-roll, 6 hit. The retinue blocks 2 and takes 4 wounds. They then fail their panic test for another 2 wounds. At the start of the Martell's turn, Tywin triggers his once-per-game ability. He starts with a panic test on Darkstar's retinue. They pass the test and the panic token is spent. They still pass on a 6. Then he puts a vulnerable token onto Darkstar's retinue and 4 hits. They fail to save any and take 4 wounds. Edric Dayne is slain. Finally, Tywin turns off the Skirmishers. Ellaria takes the maneuver zone and the Spearmen Captain retreats for 12 inches. Cersei claims the crown and uses her last token to pull Hear Me Roar from the discard. She then targets the Spearmen Captain and plays it for a test at -3. They pass it on an 8, but the panic token is spent, and he fails and is killed. The Lannisters score a victory point. Dayne claims the tactics zone and draws 2 cards, then puts a panic token onto the Knights. The Guardsmen activate and unexpected exhaustion is played on them, giving them a vulnerable and weakened token. Marin Trant then puts a panic and weakened token on the Royal Guard. Hitting on 6s, they land none. The Skirmishers charge into the Guardsmen's flank and land 3 hits. The Guardsmen block 2 and take a wound. Then they fail their panic test for 2 more wounds. They trigger Lannister supremacy and the Skirmishers fail for 5 wounds. Tywin then goes onto the board to claim a quadrant. The Royal Guard activates and attacks the Guardsmen. After a bunch of re-rolls, they land 5 hits, and after the vulnerable is spent, the Guardsmen fail them all and are killed. The Martells score a victory point. The Royal Guard surges forth into the quadrant with Tywin. Both of the A Lannister Pays His Debts cards activate. Joffrey then claims an unoccupied quadrant. Finally, the round ends with the Red Cloaks maneuvering forwards. The Lannisters score 2 victory points, and the Martells score 1. Seeing the writing on the wall, the Martells concede defeat and withdraw their remaining forces from the battlefield. The game ends. Lannisters 9, Martells 6.
May the old gods and the new smile on you. Good gaming.